The air backstage at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse was thick enough to choke on. CM Punk had just dropped the most vicious verbal bomb in WWE history, telling Roman Reigns he'd bury him next to his father at WrestleMania. The crowd sat in stunned silence. The cameras cut away. But what happened next? That's where this story truly begins. And trust me, you're not ready for what went down behind those curtains. Reigns walked backstage with fury etched across his face, barely acknowledging anyone. Security personnel scattered like roaches when the lights come on. They knew. Everyone knew. The tribal chief wasn't just angry. He was volcanic. And CM Punk had just lit the fuse on something that couldn't be contained by scripts or safety protocols. Picture this. Roman storming through the gorilla position, his fists clenched so tight his knuckles had gone white. Production staff pressed themselves against walls. Veterans, who'd seen it all, whispered warnings into their headsets. And somewhere in that maze of corridors, CM Punk was removing his knee brace, probably replaying that final line in his head with a smirk on his face, thinking he'd won the mental warfare. He hadn't won anything. He just declared war. The heated exchange on Raw saw Punk claim he would bury Reigns at WrestleMania, referencing his late father, Sika Anoa'i, a Hall of Famer who passed in 2024. This wasn't just wrestling trash talk. This was personal. This was family. This was the one line you don't cross in a business built on crossed lines. And Punk, he didn't just cross it. He stomped on it, spit on it, and walked away like he owned the place. Reports started flooding in within minutes. Crew members were scrambling. Triple H was sprinting toward the backstage area. Adam Pearce looked like he aged 10 years and 10 seconds, because everyone knew it was coming. When you disrespect the Anoa'i family legacy, when you invoke a man's deceased father for a cheap pop, there are consequences. Real ones. The kind that don't care about your WrestleMania main event. The locker room hallway became ground zero. Punk was heading toward his dressing room, that trademark confidence still radiating off him like heat from asphalt in July. He thought he'd mentally destroyed Roman. He thought those words would keep the tribal chief up at night, eating away at him until Vegas. What he didn't account for was Roman Reigns being done with waiting. Witnesses said it happened fast, too fast for anyone to intervene. Reigns had declared that Punk was an example of what not to do, and that the only reason he was back in WWE was because Reigns allowed it. But words weren't enough anymore. The tribal chief came around the corner like a freight train with failed brakes. No music, no entrance, no acknowledgement. Just pure, unfiltered rage in human form. The first shove sent Punk careening into the wall with a sickening thud that echoed through the corridor. Equipment cases rattled. Nearby talent froze in their tracks. This wasn't a worked angle. This wasn't sports entertainment. This was Roman Reigns defending his family's honor the only way he knew how, with his hands and his fury. Punk, to his credit, fought back. The best in the world didn't get that nickname by backing down. They exchanged strikes that would have ended most men's nights. A Superman punch caught Punk across the jaw. A roundhouse kick from Punk connected with Roman's ribs. These were pulled punches for the cameras.
These were receipt for disrespect, payment for crossing the ultimate line. Security finally swarmed in, but it took 8 men to separate them. 8! And even then, both were still trying to get at each other, shouting words that would make a sailor blush. The rivals had traded shocking insults on several topics during their Raw confrontation, but this transcended anything that happened in that ring. Roman's cousins, the Usos, arrived on the scene too late to join the fracas, but just in time to hold their brother back. Jimmy and Jay formed a human wall, whispering urgently to Roman, trying to bring him back from the edge. But Roman's eyes never left Punk. Even as officials pulled them further apart, even as Triple H materialized to restore order, the tribal chief's gaze stayed locked on the man who disrespected everything his family built. Here's what makes this whole situation explosive. Reigns and Punk are set to collide for the World Heavyweight Championship in the main event of WrestleMania 42. This is supposed to be the biggest match of the year, the culmination of months of storytelling. And now there's legitimate heat. Real animosity, the kind of tension that makes wrestling magic, but also the kind that can spiral out of control. WWE officials immediately went into damage control mode. Reports indicate that both men were escorted to separate areas of the building. Triple H allegedly held emergency meetings with both superstars. The message was clear. WrestleMania is too big, too important to jeopardize over this. But how do you put that genie back in the bottle? How do you tell 2 alpha males to calm down when one just disrespected the other's deceased father on live television? Social media exploded. Fans who'd been watching Raw saw Punk's controversial comment and Roman's reaction, but they had no idea what happened after the camera stopped rolling. When word started leaking out about the backstage confrontation, Twitter became a war zone. Some blamed Punk for going too far. Others praised him for being willing to do whatever it takes to sell a match. Most just wanted to see more. The Bloodline members who are still in WWE rallied around Roman. Nia Jax, Solo Sikoa, others from the NOI family tree, they all made it clear. CM Punk crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. This isn't about wrestling anymore. This is about respect. This is about legacy. This is about a family that built this industry being disrespected on global television. Punk claimed that Reigns followed his example and benefited from groundwork Punk helped build. That narrative, it died in that hallway, because Roman Reigns just proved he doesn't need permission, doesn't need approval, and definitely doesn't need CM Punk. What he needs is retribution. And at WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas, in front of 70,000 people, he's going to take it. The question now isn't whether these two can coexist until April. The question is whether WWE can keep them apart. Because that backstage explosion, that was just the preview. The main event happens in Vegas, and after what went down in Indianapolis, both men know this isn't about a championship anymore. It's about pride. It's about family. It's about settling a score that just became deeply, dangerously personal.
So if you're not subscribed to WrestleCore yet, now's the time. We're going to be all over this story as it develops, bringing you the insider info, the backstage updates, the real story behind what's shaping up to be the most intense WrestleMania main event in history. Hit that subscribe button, because you don't want to miss a single second of what happens next. This road to WrestleMania just became a warpath, and we're riding shotgun all the way to Vegas. Drop a comment below. Did CM Punk go too far, or is this exactly what wrestling needs? Let us know, and share this video with every wrestling fan you know, because chaos backstage, that's just the beginning. The real storm is still coming.